There are moments in life when heaven interrupts your routine, and not with thunder or lightning, but with a whisper so strong it stops you in your tracks, my brother, my sister. I was in the middle of something ordinary, something I had done countless times before, when I felt it. That invisible hand of conviction, that quiet urgency from the Holy Spirit that didn't come to suggest. It came to command, stop doing this now. I didn't expect it. I wasn't praying. I wasn't even thinking about God in that moment. But when He speaks, truly speaks, you know it, and everything else becomes small. What followed after that moment changed my inner world. Because what I thought was harmless, the Holy Spirit showed me was dangerous. What I thought was under control was slowly gaining control over me. Maybe you felt this too. A gentle tension in your soul, a sense that something you've tolerated is quietly pulling you away from God, not loudly, not quickly, but effectively. This message is for you. Not to scare you, but to awaken you, because when the Spirit speaks, it's not to condemn, it's to call you back. And if you stay with me, I'll tell you what He showed me. And what I had to let go of before, it cost me more than I ever imagined. By the end of this video, you'll understand why the Holy Spirit told me, stop doing this. Now, before we begin, I'd love to know where you're watching from. Leave a comment below with your city or country. And if you believe you're ready to receive God's blessings, drop the number 7 in the comments, symbolizing prosperity and blessings. If you're enjoying the content, don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who could also be blessed. Let's map together where the fire of the Spirit is reaching and bringing prosperity. My dear brother, my precious sister, have you ever felt that strange, quiet weight in your spirit? That inner stirring that won't let you rest, even though, on the outside, everything seems perfectly fine. It's as if heaven is trying to say something, but you've been too busy to listen. I know what that feels like. I've been there. And let me tell you with holy fear in my heart that restlessness is not anxiety, not guilt, not paranoia. It's the Holy Spirit reaching for your soul, trying to pull you back into alignment with the heart of God. He doesn't shout. He doesn't force, but when He whispers, it's impossible to ignore for long. That's how it started with me. Just regular days, normal life, but inside, something was stirring. And I slowly realized this wasn't weariness, it was a warning. The Holy Spirit was already moving, already convicting, just like Jesus said He would, John 16:8. And without knowing it, I was being drawn into a moment that would change everything. My brother, my sister, maybe that's where you are right now, feeling a subtle tension inside that you can't explain. Don't dismiss it, don't drown it out. That may be heaven trying to keep you from falling into a pit you haven't seen yet. That's what He did for me. And it all began with that sacred silence, that still small voice whispering, stop, pay attention. Something needs to change, dear brother, dear sister. What pulls us away from God is not always the obvious sins. Sometimes it's the quiet, subtle habits we nurture in the background of our lives. That behavior you've justified 100 times. That small indulgence that no one questions, no one corrects, and no one even notices, but heaven sees it clearly. In my case, it wasn't something scandalous, not in human eyes. But in the eyes of the Spirit, it was serious. It was small, but it was growing. It seemed harmless. But it was slowly contaminating me. It was stealing my time, my focus, my peace. And still, I kept telling myself, it's not that big of a deal. Everyone does this, but the Holy Spirit is not moved by what society tolerates. He searches the heart, Psalm 139-23. He goes beyond appearances. And He saw what I refused to see, that this habit was becoming a silent idol. It wasn't about the habit itself. It was about what that habit was doing to my soul. I was becoming spiritually numb, desensitized. I was losing the fire. My brother, there are things the world celebrates that make heaven weep. What I was doing in secret, even thinking it was harmless, was quietly pulling me away from the altar. And the Holy Spirit saw it. Out of love, he began to disturb my comfort. He saw that my steps were only inches off the path, but if left unchecked, those inches would turn into miles. What felt like a habit today would soon become a prison, but he wouldn't let me slip away without fighting for me. It happened in a moment I wasn't expecting. No worship music playing, no church atmosphere. Just a quiet, ordinary moment when everything outside seemed still. And then he spoke. It wasn't audible, but it was louder than any voice I've ever heard in my life. It thundered through my spirit with clarity and authority. "Stop doing that now, my dear brother, my beloved sister." It wasn't a suggestion. It wasn't a warning. It was a divine command. It was the voice of the Spirit. The same voice that stilled Peter's storm. The same voice that struck Saul down on the road to Damascus. A voice that slices with holy fire but heals like gentle rain. I froze, my heart trembled because I knew it wasn't me. It wasn't my own thoughts, it was him. And he wasn't shaming me, he was rescuing me. But in that moment I stood before a choice. Would I obey, or rationalize, surrender, or excuse it? My flesh argued, my mind defended, but my spirit knew the truth. If I ignored that voice, I would lose something sacred, something I hadn't even fully received yet. Brother, sister, the Holy Spirit still speaks. And when he says, "Stop now," it's not because he's harsh, it's because he's holy. When heaven breaks the silence, it's to save what hell is trying to steal. And for me, it all began with one simple, soul-shaking command: "Stop now, my dear brother, my precious sister." The moment the Spirit spoke, your soul moved, but your flesh fought back. You felt it too, didn't you? That immediate resistance. That inner voice whispering, "It's not that serious, you're overthinking, why stop something so small?" I heard those exact same lies. The flesh doesn't surrender easily. It wants comfort, not correction, and while my spirit was convicted, my mind was bargaining. I started justifying, minimizing, delaying, but the more I resisted, the quieter the Holy Spirit became. And let me tell you, there is no pain deeper than when his voice grows silent. Not because he abandons, but because we've closed our ears. And when that silence falls, the heart begins to cool. Passion fades. Prayer feels empty. Worship becomes routine. That's what was happening to me. And I could feel it, the slow drift away from intimacy. Beloved, this is how the enemy works, not always with temptation, but with delay. Not with rebellion, but with reasoning. But when the Spirit says now, he means now, not because he wants control, but because he wants to protect your soul. Every moment of hesitation is a moment of vulnerability. Every second of delay opens doors. I learned that the hard way. My battle wasn't with the habit. It was with my own unwillingness to yield. But that battle led me to a deeper truth. Obedience is not about understanding. It's about trust. And when you choose to obey immediately, heaven moves on your behalf. After I finally obeyed, something in me shifted. Not externally, but in the deepest layers of my soul. I began to understand why the Holy Spirit had been so urgent, and what he revealed broke me. That habit, which seemed so small, so harmless, was actually a door. A small, open crack through which the enemy had been slipping in unnoticed. What I thought was innocent was actually infiltration, my brother, my sister. The devil doesn't need a wide-open gate. He just needs a crack, a compromise, a justification. And once inside, he begins to plant seeds of distraction, of disobedience, of distance from God. I had allowed something to grow that was not from the Lord, and the longer I had held on to it, the more it dulled my sensitivity to the Spirit. That's why the voice became faint. That's why my prayers felt weaker. The habit had become a wedge between my soul and his voice. But God, in his mercy, exposed it, not to shame me, but to free me. The Holy Spirit wasn't trying to take something from me. He was trying to give me back what I didn't even know I had lost: peace, clarity, sensitivity, power. Dear one, what you think is just a small thing might be the very thing keeping you from hearing God clearly. Don't underestimate what He asks you to let go of. When He says stop, He's not punishing you, He's protecting you from what's hiding behind that door. Obedience didn't just change what I did, it changed who I was. The moment I surrendered, something returned, something I hadn't even realized had been fading. His presence, it came back like a rushing wind. Not because it had left me, but because I had stopped feeling it, and now it was as if the fog had lifted. My prayers became alive again, worship felt real, scriptures spoke to me, and I began to notice things I hadn't seen before. The same people, same places, same routines, but now I was seeing them through Spirit-led eyes. What once felt normal now felt weighty. What once seemed harmless now made me pause. I wasn't being paranoid, I was being purified. Dear brother, sweet sister, obedience sharpens your spiritual senses. It restores your hearing, your vision, your sensitivity. That's what began happening to me. The Holy Spirit started revealing layers of myself I had ignored, wounds I needed to heal, motives I needed to surrender, thoughts I needed to renew. And the more I said yes to His voice, the clearer that voice became. It was no longer a distant whisper. It was a steady guide. You see, the Holy Spirit isn't looking for people who understand everything. He's looking for people who are willing. People who will say, Lord, I don't see it all, but I trust you enough to obey, and when you do, you'll feel again, see again, and live again. My brother, my sister, there is nothing more precious than when the voice of the Holy Spirit returns. After I obeyed, after I let go of what He told me to release, I began to hear Him again, not faintly, not distantly, but deeply. And one day, in the quiet of prayer, He whispered something I will never forget. Now you can hear what you couldn't hear before. That moment broke me, because I realized the problem was never with His voice, it was with my ears. I had been spiritually clogged, and that one act of obedience unclogged the frequency. The Lord wasn't trying to deprive me. He was preparing me to receive greater clarity, greater intimacy, greater depth. My dear friend, this is how He works. The same God who silenced the storm for the disciples is the God who calms the noise in your soul. The same God who spoke to Moses from a burning bush is the God who whispers truth into your heart today. He doesn't stop speaking, we just stop perceiving. But the moment you obey, the air clears, the soul quiets, and the voice returns. Not to scold you, but to lead you deeper. You begin to walk not by assumption, but by revelation, not by emotion, but by discernment. That's what began to happen to me, and I believe it will happen to you. When you stop resisting and start surrendering, you'll hear Him again. And what He says next will take you further than you've ever imagined, beloved brother, dear sister. In this journey of faith, it's not always the big decisions that shape your destiny, it's the small ones. The secret, quiet, behind the scenes yes to God, that's where spiritual maturity begins, that's where protection is released. And that's where I learned the urgency of obedience. Because delay is not just disobedience, it's danger. The Holy Spirit taught me that when He speaks, it's never casual, it's never optional. He speaks because something is coming, something you can't see yet, but He already knows. That's why He says now, not tomorrow, not later. Now, the enemy doesn't always come roaring. Sometimes he comes through the back door of delay, through the small compromises we tell ourselves are no big deal. But the Spirit knows. He sees what's ahead. And when He tells you to stop, to shift, to surrender, it's not to make your life harder. It's to guard your calling. That's what He was doing with me, pulling me out of something small before it became something strong. You see, God is not just interested in your behavior. He's after your heart, your attention, your sensitivity. Because those who hear him in the small things will be trusted with the great things. And when you respond quickly, when you choose to obey without delay, heaven moves. Chains break, clarity comes, and you begin to walk in a rhythm of grace and guidance. That's what he wants for you, not perfection, but attention, obedience, trust. I'm telling you this, my brother, my sister, because you might be exactly where I was. You've been feeling it, that tension, that uneasiness, that quiet tug in your spirit. Maybe you've ignored it. Maybe you've explained it away. Maybe you've told yourself, it's not that serious, but let me lovingly tell you, it is that serious. The Holy Spirit doesn't convict without purpose. He doesn't stir your soul just to make you uncomfortable. He does it because he's calling you back. Back to clarity. Back to intimacy. Back to purity. And maybe right now, as you listen, he's speaking again. Stop now, not out of anger, but out of love, because he sees what you don't. He knows what's coming, and he wants you ready. I'm not telling you this to impress you or to preach at you. I'm telling you this because I care about your soul, because I've been there. I've wrestled, I've delayed, I've resisted, and I've learned nothing is worth losing the voice of the Spirit. So, whatever that thing is, that habit, that relationship, that thought pattern, that secret, lay it down. Let this be your moment of surrender. Not tomorrow. Now, say it in your heart. Lord, I'm listening. I choose to obey. And if this spoke to your heart, let it speak through you. Tell me in the comments, he spoke to me. Let your response be your first step. Heaven sees, heaven hears, and I promise you, what comes after obedience is far greater than anything you've left behind, my brother, my sister. If you heard the whisper of the Holy Spirit while watching this, don't ignore it. You didn't come here by accident. You didn't stay this long for no reason. This was a divine interruption. A moment of clarity that heaven carved out just for you. You may not fully understand what needs to change yet, but your spirit does. Because something inside you stirred, a weight lifted, or maybe a conviction settled in. Don't rush away from this moment. Let it breathe, let it sink deep. Maybe it's a habit you've tolerated, a relationship you've justified, a pattern you've called normal, but God is calling it dangerous. The Spirit isn't pointing to punish, he's pointing to protect, to draw you back, to realign you with your purpose. And this may be your now or never moment. So, I invite you, not with pressure but with love, respond, not just in your mind but with a step. A small one, a real one. Comment below. Tell me, I heard him. That's it. Just that. It's not for me, it's for you. For heaven to see that your heart is still listening, still soft, still willing, and if you haven't yet, subscribe. Not just to this channel, but to the process of being transformed by truth. This isn't the end. It's the beginning of a new level of freedom. You're not alone. He's speaking, and now you're listening.